Recently, I was thinking about two things that I didn't think were connected, but then after I started thinking about it a little more, I saw why I was thinking about it. So one was ideas. Why is it sometimes that it's so hard for an idea to come to you, right? That sometimes they seem to just come out of nowhere. You're just not even thinking about it, and you have all these ideas about what to write. And then other times it's like, you want to reach inside your head and just like reboot your brain because things are just not coming out. And the second thing was flow. Like sometimes stories, you get your idea and you start to write, and it just flows, like it just really comes out of you, and you can't type fast enough. And then other times it's like really, really nothing's coming out. And I mean, it's coming out, but it's just so slow and it's just so sluggish, and it's just so hard to get the story down. So I don't know if you've had these experiences before, but as writers, I think it happens often. So I want to talk about the two things today: ideas and flow. You have a story to tell, but you don't know where to start. Let me show you how to free your story. I teach you how to write and how to dig deep in your soul to release your story and make a difference in the world. Welcome to the Julia Monte channel. Thank you for being here. If you're just meeting me, I am Julia Monte. I'm a women's fiction author, and I am here on Fridays giving you some tips to help you to finish, to write, to start your book. So let's talk about ideas first and why sometimes it feels like the ideas are just kind of trapped in your head. Like you can almost feel them. Like, yeah, I have an idea to write this story, but it's really fuzzy. You really can't get a hold of that idea. And why is that happens sometimes? It's the big question, right? Why does it feel like these ideas are kind of trapped inside us and that they are buried, that we can't really get a good hold on what it is that we're trying to write or what we're trying to say with a certain story? And I think that a lot of the times it has to do with just the distraction of the world. We're just overly distracted, overly stimulated by too many things, and we're not sitting here really focusing on what we want to say. Another thing that I think is true is that we live in a world that rewards like innovation. Everything has to be amazing and wonderful. And we start to think of an idea, but then we question it like, oh, well, is it really a good idea? Or has it been done a million times? Or, what's so special about this idea? Because we think that we have to create something that's completely brand new and just earth shattering, when the truth is that we really don't need to do that. We need to be able to take the pressure off of ourselves and just go with the idea that we have. It can turn into something amazing, or it can just turn into a good story. It doesn't have to be something that nobody's ever done before, and it doesn't have to be super, super unique. When we're putting that kind of pressure on ourselves, it makes it a lot harder to be creative, because if you feel like you have to do something completely amazing, the best novel that's ever been written, that's a lot of pressure on any of us. So we first need to relax and stop putting that pressure on ourselves that that this has to be the best story ever told. Okay, it has to be the great American novel. No, it doesn't have to be. It just has to be your story, whatever story you're telling. Now, the next thing, having stories flow once you do get an idea and start writing. What do I mean by that? If you've been in a state of flow, what that means is just that everything seems to come out easily. You're not really stressing. You sit down to write, and the ideas it just comes out of you. You're typing. You can't type fast enough. Time seems to fade. All of a sudden, you look up and it's been 2-3 hours, and you've been writing. You're just in this really great creative state. I've had situations where my mom has called me when I've been in this in this state of flow, and she says, were you sleeping? And the reason that she's asking me this is just because I am literally somewhere else. My mind is somewhere else. I am with my characters. So involved in this story that I sound like I'm asleep. I sound like I'm somewhere else because I am, right? So this is what being in a state of flow means. That everything is just, the time just flies by, and it's effortless to get your story into your computer. One of my favorite books on creativity is The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin, if you haven't heard of him, he is a legendary music producer. and he wrote this book on creativity. And one of the things that he says is that one of the favorite things from this book, he says that the best art is where you don't remember making it, it just flowed through you. And I like that because that's true, right? That's the way it feels when you write a story, a novel, and it's really, really good, and you feel like, wow, did I even write that? How did that happen? It just came out of me, right? And that's a great feeling when that happens. It doesn't always happen, but at times it can and it does. And the other thing that he says is that an artist is like a vessel. So we're not really creating anything, but the creation is coming through us. And if we just step out of the way and let it happen, it will emerge out of us. Effortlessly. So why doesn't this happen all the time? Well, mostly because we don't let it happen all the time. We believe in things like writer's block. We say that we're blocked because the story doesn't come. Well, why is it that we're blocked? Well, we're blocked because we are, again, distracted by other things. We are putting too much pressure on ourselves to create the perfect story. We are listening to these nagging voices inside our head saying that the story is not good enough. Some of us may have been taught to edit as we go, so we reread our work and then we start to edit and we start to think, oh, it's not good enough, or there's nothing special about this story. We start to put all these poisonous thoughts in our head. And so these barriers and these inner critics are killing the creativity and not allowing the ideas and the story to flow. So if we do what Rick Rubin says and we just get out of our own way, we can produce better stories. We can have these ideas come more often, have them flow out of us easy, and more often than not. So here are some strategies that I'm going to give you to just increase your creativity and be able to unlock some of the stories that you have inside of you. So the first thing is to brainstorm without editing. So sit and think of all those ideas that you're having, write them down, play the what if game, and just create a list of ideas, of stories, of possible things that you could write about. Don't worry if it makes sense or not, just write it all down. The second thing is to create like a mind map. So branch out from one of these ideas, take the one that sounds the most interesting to you, and create a web where you're not thinking linearly and you're allowing just different thoughts to happen, right? So let's say that one of your ideas is, I'm going to write a story about a marathon runner. Okay, well, that doesn't sound too exciting, but okay, let's go with that one, right? So then you branch out, well, what's happening with this person? Why is this person a marathon runner? What experiences is he going to have as he's training for this marathon, right? So you start to think of all the like regular normal stuff, but also some of the crazy things that might happen to this person. So it might end up being a sci-fi novel. It might end up being a horror novel. It might end up being a love story. We don't know. We're just going to write all these things down and see what comes out. Another thing we can do is keep a journal. So we can either continue with this same idea that we started with, here's the idea, here's a little mind map, and now maybe start writing from the character's point of view and see what happens. Or just have a journal where you're writing about different ideas or different thoughts that you have or different what if scenarios. It doesn't have to be related to the other ones, but that's another way to just kind of build that creativity. Another thing you can do to just unlock creativity is just get out of where you normally write. Go somewhere else, go out in nature, sit on the beach, go ride your bike somewhere and take a notebook and sit down, and maybe just being somewhere different will unlock your creativity. You're not so stuck on things that need to be done in your home or other distractions that you might have. Once you have some ideas, allow yourself to explore them without any judgment. So you're not sitting here saying this is a dumb idea, or this really won't work, or this is going to turn out to be, I'm going to have to waste my time on this and then I'm not going to be able to finish it. Just take all that pressure away. Just go with it and allow your mind to wander, to think of wherever it wants to go. It doesn't have to make sense. And in fact, it's almost better if you don't go with the norm. So get away from the real world and go with something different. Something else that Rick Rubin said that I like. He says the ability to look deeply is the root of creativity, to see past the ordinary and the mundane and get to what might otherwise be invisible. What he's telling us here is that we get so absorbed by real life, by the normal everyday stuff, that sometimes we can't see past that. We can't really, like a child, just think of things that aren't that don't exist or things that aren't there. We're so used to just the real stuff that we don't allow ourselves to think of other options of other things. So you want to do that. Just explore whatever idea you have and let it go in whatever direction it wants to. So creativity really isn't about being brilliant. It's about allowing yourself to dream and allowing yourself to explore whatever thoughts you're having. And again, sometimes it takes a while just to sit back, think of ideas, explore them, before you ever actually write your story. And a lot of those you may never use. It might just be like, well, that really was kind of a bizarre thing. I don't know what I was thinking, but I don't really want to write about that. But as long as you show up and you're open to different experiences and different things, you're going to end up with a way better story than if you just force yourself to write something that you think will be good or that you think will sell. Sometimes we really don't know. Sometimes we might think, well, this is the silliest thing I've ever thought of. And it ends up being a really great story. I remember one novel that I wrote, it was called Becoming Latina in 10 Easy Steps. And I wrote it under the pseudonym Laura Rios. And I just sat down, the publisher wanted Latino stories with Latino characters, and every time I submitted something, it was like it was not Latino enough for them, and I didn't really know what that meant. And so one day I just sat back and sat at my desk looking out the window, and I'm just writing down like, what is it that they want? Just a bunch of stereotypes. So I started writing down a bunch of stereotypes of Latinos, and a story emerged from that because I thought it was so funny. And I thought, what if a character just decides to become all these stereotypes? Why would in the world would she do that? Made no sense. But once I started, thought, well, okay, well, maybe she wants to do this because of this. Or maybe she wants to do it because of that. And the more I played with this silly idea, things that just came out of nothing, the better the story got. And it became a story about a woman who needs to accept herself, her identity, and she does it by trying to become more Latina and taking on all these crazy stereotypes in order to become more Latina, realizing eventually that you can't change, you can't be something that you already are, right? It became a book that was really well received. A lot of colleges used it, and I got a lot of emails from students who read the book and wanted to talk about their identity issues. So you just never know. You want to allow yourself to dream and to write down and to risk writing something that may be silly. So this is just a short video just to, again, tell you what I was thinking. I was just sitting around thinking about ideas and why some ideas flow better than others, why some stories flow better than others. And what I thought of was, a lot of times they don't, just because we don't let it. We allow distractions, insecurities to take over. And I wanted to share that with you. So I hope that it makes you think and that you are a little easier and kinder to yourself the next time that you think of an idea or a story, and that you go for it and don't worry about whether it's good or whether it's going to be well accepted. Just write it and see what happens. All right. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Like my video, share my video with social media, your friends, and also subscribe to the channel. Come back and see me next week. Bye-bye.